What's a secret you can only share with online strangers? Never told my parents I had stage 1 cancer. Both were barely sober and would have jumped off the wagon head first. Bright side, doc got it all. Glad you beat cancer. I know that must have been a hard decision to make, but it was probably for the better to not tell them. Thank you, and yeah, my best friend was with me through it. In turn we ended up married, so it ended up a happy story. That is a very happy story. It's great that everything turned out well in the end. Thank you. Not much of a secret, but my dad lied about having a family to my mom. My dad is still in the picture, but we are like the secondary family. It took 25 years for me to finally meet one of my brothers from my dad's side. He seems to be the only one who half-heartedly wanted to meet me. The rest don't seem to care too much about my existence. OMG, this happened with my best friends growing up, and I only actually found out very recently. My best friend and I are nearly 40, and her sister is about 43. It turns out, their father was always an incredibly righteous and judgmental person, but he secretly had a whole other family, right here in our tiny little town, with 2 daughters, of similar ages to my friends, and grandchildren. And he just came home one day and dropped that bomb on everyone casually and then went out to snooker club. That's all I know. I'm shocked. It's obviously hurtful in many ways. His wife is a lovely woman. She accepted it. They all did. And that's for the best. I'm still floored. About 10 years ago, I stole my bully's phone and threw it off a building. He still doesn't know what happened to his phone. This reminds me of when I was 12 and I hid a kid's bike helmet so he couldn't bike home from school, since the school's policy was that all kids were to wear a helmet if they were to ride to and from school. I ended up fessing up to it though, sadly, and gave him his helmet back after a week. Sometimes when my medical issues are acting up I can't even remember my husband's name. I know who he is, but it's like the data is corrupted and my brain is returning back "unknown error" instead of back "name". I get transient aphasia with my migraines. It's an awful feeling, and I'm sorry you have to deal with it. IDK what that is, but I forget names and things when I have migraines as well. It scares me, and I often think I'll get dementia when I'm older, even though I have no clue if it's related, but it's scary not being all there. When I was with my host family, it was honestly the only year of my life I felt like a part of a family. I miss them so much. That's really touching. Sometimes we think our family lives are normal until we experience another way. Anyhow, I'm sure they miss you too. I kind of dislike my best friend. We've known each other a long time, and we are both in unfortunate circumstances. But I'm trying to change mine. He isn't trying to change his. He just rages about how unfair his life is. I've offered all the help I can, but he never takes me up on it, and being his shoulder to cry on can be exhausting. He can be a very negative person, and so can I, but I'm trying to be less so. But it's easy to slip back into negativity when I'm around him. It's all very frustrating sometimes. It's okay to break up with a friend. We don't have language or processes for it like we do for romantic relationships. But we should. I can attest to this. I always remind myself of the quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." I find this to be true most of the time. I have friends that have paid me to record them having sex. You guys get paid? You guys get sex? You guys got friends? You guys. I obsess about being able to start life over in another time, to the point where I feel this life is not worth bothering about. I always thought the coolest thing in USA is that one day you can get up and decide I'm going to move to this state and you don't even have to tell anybody if you don't want to. Well, except if you're a parent or are in debt. You still don't have to tell anyone. Yeah, I mean your debt collectors will find you. Don't worry about them. Don't know how I'm going to survive now without stepdad. Died Saturday. Things just hurt so much. It will get better, but take your time. I felt the same when my mother died, but I'm still here. Thanks to everything she taught me. Even after death, the people you love stay with you. I wish you lots of strength. There is a video of me being interviewed by Tulsa Channel 9 News where I'm drunk wearing a beer-soaked crop top tank top Oxted shirt being asked about my opinion on beer being sold in Boone Pickens Stadium. Not my finest moment. Late response, I honestly have no idea where / if there is a link of this incident. They might have saved the footage / stored it somewhere, and IDK where to find it. Also it was Tulsa News 9 not Channel 9 News. Another late response, apparently. I can't remember the news station, but I remember a prominent white 9 on a red square background on the mic. Honestly cold bean KTUL8, but I was fucking plastered that day. I Tulsa gang. I feel relieved whenever I get sick. I have major depression and anxiety problems. And being physically ill is just something people understand better. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the physical illness justifies the fucked feelings. You have a reason to feel bad. To stay in bed. To need people around. It gives you also something else to worry about. Something present and real. I have never heard it explained this way, but wow that hit me. It's so relieving to see that someone else has this experience. I realize that it's more common than we think. But the shame that comes with it makes it nearly impossible for us to share this kind of feeling. We are not alone. This is why I kept drinking. It's stupid but at the time I felt like it's okay to not be manic. I'm hungover. Due to the current plague, COVID, my best friend of 10 plus years lost his job. He was going through rough times beforehand. Wife cheated. Left him. Horrible divorce. etc. Now, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed and can be forgetful. He, however, is a very proud man and will not accept help from anybody. Nothing I can do. He's always been that way. Important later. One night while having a few beers, he mentions how he's worried about making rent next month. Due to my decent savings and good job, I offered to help him. He refused saying he would never accept it. Now, I know his landlord is a vague acquaintance, saw him and had talked to him a few times before while at my buddy's place. So I went to see him while my buddy was at another friend's house working on his old dirt bike. I paid his rent in full, in cash, for the next 2 months. I told his landlord to never tell him it came from me, and to tell him that was owed to him due to overpayment on his rent while he lived there. Something about reviewing the last few years' finances to make it seem legit. He totally bought it. I saw him the next weekend, and he was so happy. He told me all about the overpayment and how that magically saved him. For without them, he might be homeless, while he thinks he was saved due to an accounting error. I'm so happy knowing I greatly improved his situation, at least for a little while. Since my divorce, I don't really want a relationship. I date some and keep it casual and had one actual girlfriend for 3 months and it was pure hell. My family doesn't get it, but I really like doing the dad and kids thing. I went to counseling in case it was some carryover issues from my marriage, but it seems I just like being on my own. I'm scared that won't change long term. I don't want to end up alone after my kids grow out of the home. But I just can't get on board to doing the relationship bit and don't see that changing anytime soon. Think of it this way. You don't have to conform to the norm. If you're happy by yourself, then be by yourself. If eventually you decide you want to be with other people, be. My mother's last words as she lay dying in our house were I'm scared. This has effed me up. Bad. And I can't tell anyone I know because I don't want to F them up too. I understand it if you don't want to answer this. But what happened? It was a normal night. We said goodnight and I went off to bed. 5 minutes later I heard her scream help. I ran downstairs. She said she couldn't breathe. I thought she was having panic attack, but called for the ambulance. Next thing I know she said that. Then she's turning purple. Then the noise and boom. Gone. Turned out she had a pulmonary embolism. 20 minutes start to finish, and I still have flashbacks. Can't hear those words without an anxiety attack, and had nightmares every night for a year afterwards. I bet she was less scared with you by her side, helping, supporting. I bet she was comforted knowing you were there for her. She was scared, but much less so because of you. While no one can take the pain away, I hope you find some relief in knowing you did everything right. But the most right thing you did was just being there. Thanks. That means a lot to me.